What started as a quiet night at home with my cousin turned into a whirlwind of desire and danger. I never expected to cross a line I thought I'd never dare to touch. When our past came crashing back with a menacing figure at the door, everything changed. Would our forbidden connection survive the chaos, or would it all come crumbling down? Dive into this wild ride of love, family, and the fight for our lives. The house was eerily quiet when I walked in, the kind of silence that felt almost oppressive. The only sound was the gentle tick-tock of the clock on the wall, echoing in the empty space like a heartbeat. I tossed my keys onto the counter, kicked off my shoes, and let out a tired sigh. My day had been long and grueling, each hour dragging on like a marathon. All I wanted was to collapse into bed and forget the world outside. As I trudged down the hallway, a flicker of light caught my eye. There was a soft glow spilling from under the guest room door. My cousin, Emily, had mentioned needing a place to crash for a few days, and I had half-heartedly agreed, thinking she'd end up in a hotel like usual. But here she was, unexpectedly crashing at my place. My heart raced as I hesitated, biting my lip, torn between curiosity and the desire to give her privacy. With a gentle push, I opened the door. There she was, stretched out on the neatly made bed. Her long hair fanned out across the pillows, looking peaceful and serene. For a moment, I just stood there, a smile creeping onto my face. She looked so content, so utterly relaxed. But then my gaze drifted lower, and my breath hitched. Her shirt had ridden up, revealing a tantalizing sliver of her toned stomach and the waistband of her jeans. I stood frozen, heart pounding like a drum, staring at the unexpected sight before me. I should have turned around and walked back to my room, left her to sleep in peace. But something about the scene held me captive. A magnetic pull that made my fingers itch to reach out and touch her. Before I knew it, I was taking a step closer, the warmth of the room wrapping around me like a fog. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to cross a line I never even considered approaching. "Emily?" I whispered, my voice barely a breath. She didn't stir. Her breathing remained slow and even, her lips slightly parted. There was an urgency growing inside me, battling against the voice of reason. I hesitated, biting down on my lower lip. If she woke up, what would she think? What would she say? But even that thought wasn't enough to push me away. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, I knelt beside her, letting my fingertips graze against her wrist. The contact was feather-light, barely there, but it sent a jolt through me. I held my breath, half expecting her to wake, but she remained still. Gaining courage, I let my fingers trail higher, gliding up the length of her forearm, feeling the warmth of her skin and the steady thrum of her pulse beneath my touch. She shifted slightly, a soft murmur escaping her lips. My heart raced as fear and excitement waged war inside me. What was I doing? This was so wrong. Yet I couldn't stop. Leaning in closer, I was entranced by the strong lines of her jaw, the faint scent of her hair still lingering in the air. The mix of danger and desire heightened my senses. Tentatively, I pressed a soft kiss against her hand, and a low, almost purring sound rumbled from her throat. My heart raced, panic rising within me as her hand slid, almost instinctively, to cup the back of my neck. My eyes widened, realizing she wasn't asleep anymore. "Jake," she murmured, her voice thick with sleep, laced with something deeper, something that made my pulse leap. "What are you doing?" I stammered, my face burning with embarrassment. My instincts screamed at me to pull away, to apologize and run out of the room, but I was entranced by the intensity of her gaze, the way her fingers tightened against my skin, holding me in place. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" I asked, my voice low and rough as I pulled her closer, my lips brushing against her ear. The heat radiating from her was intoxicating. "Jake, Her words faltered, caught in the whirlwind of her emotions. Before she could finish, I leaned in, capturing her lips in a kiss that stole my breath. It was fierce, demanding, igniting a fire deep within me that I hadn't known existed. She moaned softly, fingers clutching at my shirt as I pulled her closer, heat flaring everywhere our bodies met. My mouth moved against hers with a hunger that took me completely by surprise, as if I had been waiting for this moment, just like she had. "You drive me crazy, you know that?" I whispered against her skin, my breath hot and filled with desire. Her heart raced as I explored her mouth, and I lost myself in the taste of her. There was no going back now. This was the moment everything changed, the moment I crossed a line that should never have been crossed. But it felt so right, and I was desperate for more. "Tell me you want this," I murmured, my fingers trailing up her sides, exploring every inch of her skin. "Tell me you want me, and I'll stop holding back." The words caught in her throat, her body trembling under my touch. Did she want this? My mind was a blur, but her body knew the answer. "I want you," she finally whispered, each word laced with longing. I groaned softly, my grip tightening as I kissed her again, my lips fierce and demanding, my hands roaming freely, pushing her sweater up and over her head, leaving her bare to my gaze. Her eyes darkened as I took her in, a primal hunger igniting within me. "Beautiful," I murmured, my voice thick with desire. "So damn beautiful." Then I was on her again, kissing down her throat, my hands skimming over every curve, every inch of bare skin. I was drowning in the sensation, lost in the heat of her touch, the sound of her voice murmuring my name. But even in that moment of passion, a sliver of doubt crept in. Was this just a reckless act, a momentary lapse in judgment? Or was there something deeper simmering beneath the surface? The thought clawed at me, but as I held her, lost in a whirlwind of desire, I couldn't bring myself to care. I was ready to embrace the chaos, to lose myself completely in her. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would shake the very foundations of everything I thought I knew about love, desire, and the boundaries we dared to cross. The sun had barely begun to rise when I found myself waking up beside Emily, the warm light spilling through the window and casting a golden hue over everything. My heart raced as I remembered the events of the night before, replaying them in my mind like a film on repeat. Each kiss, each touch was etched into my memory, and the thrill of what had happened sent a shiver down my spine. Emily lay beside me, her body pressed close, her breathing slow and steady. I could feel the warmth radiating from her, and it sent a rush of warmth flooding through me. I knew I should feel ashamed, that I should be repulsed by the fact that I was lying in bed with my cousin. But instead, I felt exhilarated. It was as if a dam had broken, and everything I had suppressed for so long was rushing to the surface. But reality hit me like a cold splash of water. What were we doing? What would happen when the sun fully rose and the world outside my room came crashing back in? I couldn't ignore the weight of our actions, the risks, the consequences. As much as I wanted to drown in the moment, I knew I had to face the truth. This wasn't just some reckless fling. This was family. Tentatively, I turned to face her, brushing my fingers lightly over her jawline, tracing the strong features I had always admired. There was something so incredibly captivating about her, her strength, her beauty, the way she had always made me feel alive. But this was different. This was crossing a line I wasn't sure I could uncross. "Jake," she murmured, her eyes fluttering open. For a moment, confusion flickered across her face. Then she blinked and registered my presence beside her. "What time is it?" "Early." "Too early, probably," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, even as my heart raced. We should talk." "Talk?" She raised an eyebrow, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "Is that what you want?" My heart skipped a beat at the way she looked at me, her gaze filled with curiosity. "I mean, we need to figure out what just happened." "I don't know," she admitted finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel confused." I nodded slowly, my expression thoughtful. "We crossed a line, and once that line is crossed, there's no going back. But you need to understand, I've wanted this for a long time." The admission sent a rush of warmth through me, electrifying my senses. "What do you mean?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I paused, choosing my words carefully. I felt this pull between us for years. I tried to ignore it, to push it down because it felt wrong. But now that we've crossed that line, I can't pretend anymore. Her heart raced at my confession. Could it be that she wasn't the only one harboring these forbidden feelings? But, Jake, we can't. We can't be together like this, she said, her voice trembling. It's wrong. Is it? I challenged softly, my eyes boring into hers. What's wrong about two consenting adults wanting each other? Just because of a label? The question hung in the air, heavy and loaded. I wanted to argue, to tell her that family dynamics were complex, that we had to consider everyone else's feelings. But a part of me, this wild, reckless part, wanted to leap headfirst into the chaos, to embrace the fire between us. What happens next? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. What do we do? I took a deep breath, my expression serious. We take it one day at a time. We explore this connection, no pressure, no expectations. Just you and me. Her eyes searched mine, and I could see the conflict playing out in her mind. I knew I was asking her to walk a tightrope, to step into dangerous territory, but I could feel the desire simmering beneath the surface. Suddenly, a loud crash from downstairs jolted us from our intimate moment. My heart raced as I exchanged a worried glance with Emily. What was that? She whispered, her stomach twisting in knots. Stay here, I commanded, my voice low and firm. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, my body tense with anticipation as I reached for my shirt. My instincts kicked in, ready to protect her from whatever threat loomed outside our door. As I moved toward the door, I felt Emily's hand on my arm. Wait, don't. But it was too late. I had to see what was happening, what had caused that crash. I stepped into the hallway just as I reached the living room, and my heart sank. The front door had been kicked open. Splintered wood scattered across the floor. A figure loomed in the doorway, and my blood ran cold as realization hit me. Derek, I muttered under my breath. The last person I wanted to see right now. Jake, he shouted, his voice dripping with mockery. Long time no see. I was hoping to catch up. Not interested. I shot back, stepping forward to put myself between him and Emily. The tension in the air was palpable, and I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us. Is that so? Derek stepped further into the light, revealing his smug expression. You think you can just walk away from your past? That it won't come back to haunt you? What do you want, Derek? I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. I came to talk, but it seems like you've got company. His gaze flicked toward Emily, and a twisted smile spread across his face. Didn't realize you were sharing your bed with family. I clenched my fists, the urge to protect Emily surging within me. Leave her out of this, I warned, my tone low and threatening. Derek chuckled, unfazed. You don't get to tell me what to do. You owe me, Jake. You forgot about the deal we made. I didn't forget. I'm just done playing your games. I growled, my anger flaring. Derek's expression shifted, the casual bravado fading into something more sinister. You think you can fix this? You think you can walk away from your past and pretend it never happened? You have no idea what you're up against. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and I could feel the air grow thick with unspoken threats. Whatever game you think you're playing, I'm not interested, I said firmly. Derek stepped closer, a glint of malice in his eyes. Oh, I'm just getting started, Jake. You'll regret underestimating me. In a flash, he lunged forward, and Emily screamed, instinctively moving closer to me. I reacted without thinking, deflecting Derek's advance with a force that sent him staggering back. Get out! I yelled, my voice filled with rage. Derek regained his footing, but the surprise in his eyes quickly turned to fury. You're making a mistake, Jake, he spat, shooting one last glance at Emily. You can't keep hiding from your past. It's coming for you, and I'll be the one to bring it to your doorstep. Leave now before things get worse for you, I warned, my fists still clenched, ready for whatever he might throw my way. For a moment, Derek hesitated, weighing his options. I could see the internal struggle etched across his face, but ultimately, his bravado took over. "This isn't over," he sneered, turning to leave. As the door slammed shut behind him, the tension in the room deflated, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. I looked at Emily, who was wide-eyed and clearly shaken. "Emily, are you okay?" I asked, concern flooding my voice. "I think so. Just a little shaken," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry you had to see that," I murmured, pulling her into my arms. The warmth of her body was comforting, grounding me as the reality of the situation settled in. "I thought I'd left that life behind. I didn't realize how dangerous it was," she replied, anxiety coursing through her. "Derek doesn't play fair," I said, stepping back to look into her eyes. "He'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants, and right now that includes you." A wave of fear washed over her. What if he tries to come after me again? What if he thinks I'll be a bargaining chip? I felt the protective instincts rise within me, and I knew I had to act. "Then we need to take the fight to him first. We can't wait for him to make the next move." "What do you mean?" she asked, her eyes widening with anxiety. "I have a plan," I replied, my voice steady. "We need to confront him and make it clear that we're not afraid. I won't let him threaten you or me any longer." The idea of facing Derek head-on sent a thrill through me, mixed with anxiety. But I could see the fire in Emily's eyes, the determination that mirrored my own. "I'm with you," she said firmly. "Whatever you decide, I'm in this." "Good," I said, stepping closer. "But we have to be smart about this. We can't let our emotions cloud our judgment. Derek knows how to exploit weaknesses, and he'll try to get inside our heads. Then let's use that against him," she replied, a newfound confidence in her voice. "We can turn the tables." I nodded, impressed by her resolve. We gathered what we needed, a sense of purpose driving us as we prepared for the confrontation. I knew that we were no longer just two people caught in a dangerous game. We were partners, united against the chaos that threatened to tear us apart. As night fell, we stood at the door, ready to confront Derek. The stakes had never been higher, and my heart raced with anticipation and dread. "Are you ready?" I asked, my gaze intense as I looked at Emily. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "More than ever." With that, we stepped out into the night, the chill in the air mingling with the heat of determination coursing through us. Together, we would navigate this storm and emerge stronger than before, no matter the cost. The tension hung thick in the air as Emily and I moved through the dark streets, the weight of the impending confrontation pressing down on us. Each step felt heavy, but the resolve in my chest burned bright. I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for us. As we neared Derek's place, I glanced at Emily. She was quiet, her expression determined but tinged with uncertainty. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, meeting her gaze with confidence. "We can't let him control us anymore. This ends tonight." We approached Derek's house, the dim light from inside spilling onto the porch. I could feel my heart racing, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I remembered our last encounter. I wouldn't let him intimidate us again. "Stay behind me," I instructed, my protective instincts kicking in as I stepped forward and knocked on the door with a firm rap. A moment later, the door swung open, revealing Derek. He wore a smirk, clearly enjoying the power he wielded. Well, look who decided to pay me a visit," he taunted. I stepped into the house, my heart pounding. "We need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though my anger simmered just beneath the surface. "Talk? Is that what you call it?" Derek laughed, glancing at Emily. "You should really choose your friends more carefully." "Enough with the games, Derek," I snapped, stepping closer. "We're not here to play your little mind games." His expression turned serious, the smile fading. "You think you can just waltz in here and dictate the terms? This is my turf, Jake. I make the rules." "Not anymore," I countered, the fire in my belly fueling my resolve. "You've crossed a line, and we're not going to let you threaten us any longer. Us? Derek sneered, looking between us. How cute. But you both don't realize the danger you're in. You're still playing in my world, and I don't play nice. Then let's end this once and for all. I challenged, my heart racing. You want to threaten us? Let's settle this right now. Derek stepped forward, and I felt Emily's hand slip into mine. The warmth of her touch steadied me as I faced the man who had been a dark shadow over my life for too long. All right, let's see what you've got, he said, a dangerous glint in his eyes. But remember, you brought this on yourselves. The air crackled with tension as we faced each other, the past swirling around us like a tempest. I could feel Emily's pulse racing beside me, her strength giving me the courage I needed to stand firm. What do you want from us? I asked, my voice low and unwavering. I want respect, Derek replied, his tone icy. I want what's mine, and I want you to know that I'm not afraid to take it, even if it means hurting the people you care about. The threat hung in the air, a chilling reminder of the stakes. But I refused to back down. You can try, but I'll never let you win. With that, the tension broke, and the moment of truth arrived. We were no longer just two people caught in a dangerous game. We were warriors standing against the chaos that threatened to tear us apart. Derek lunged, and I reacted instinctively, dodging to the side as he swung at me. I could hear Emily gasping behind me, but I focused on the fight at hand. It was time to show Derek that I wouldn't back down. I countered with a punch of my own, landing it squarely against his jaw. The impact reverberated through my fist, and I felt a rush of satisfaction. He staggered back, surprise flashing in his eyes. Don't underestimate me, Derek, I growled, stepping forward. I've changed, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. You'll regret this, he spat, wiping blood from his lip. But I could see the doubt creeping into his eyes, the realization that he might have underestimated our resolve. As the fight continued, I felt Emily's presence beside me, her strength bolstering my confidence. We were in this together, facing down a threat that had haunted us for too long. With a final surge of adrenaline, I lunged at Derek, catching him off guard. I tackled him to the ground, pinning him beneath me. This ends now, I said, my voice filled with conviction. Get off me, he shouted, but I tightened my grip, refusing to let him go. Enough, I shouted, my heart racing as I looked down at him. You're done terrorizing us. You're out of our lives for good. He glared at me, fury and defeat mingling in his gaze. You think this is over? You don't know who you're dealing with. No, I know exactly who I'm dealing with, I replied, my voice steady. And I'm done living in fear of you. With a final push, I got off him, stepping back to allow him to get up. He scrambled to his feet, his expression darkening. This isn't over, Jake. I'll find a way to make you pay for this. Maybe, but not today. I shot back, my heart pounding with adrenaline. You've lost your hold on us, Derek. It's time to face the consequences of your actions. As he backed away, I could feel the tension in the air shift. I had confronted my demons, and I could see the doubt in Derek's eyes. I'll be watching you, he warned, but the threat felt empty. With that, he turned and fled, disappearing into the night. Emily and I stood there, breathing heavily, the adrenaline still coursing through our veins. Are you okay? I asked, looking at her with concern. She nodded, her eyes shining with determination. I'm fine. I can't believe we actually stood up to him. I pulled her into an embrace, feeling the warmth of her body against mine. We did it together. I'm proud of you. As we held each other, I realized that we had crossed another line, but this time it felt empowering. Together, we had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. In that moment, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them as partners. The bond we had formed was unbreakable, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. And as we stood together, united against the chaos of the world, I felt a flicker of hope for our future. A future where we could be free from the shadows of the past and ready to build something beautiful together.